Hola, mis amores. It's your girl, your Rapunzel, the guiding light to conscious high achievers, to thought leaders that are committed to being the best version of themselves as they lead others, starting by leading who they are. These are people that are committed to trusting their intuition, cultivating their inner peace, and enjoying their lives every single step of the way. Today, we're going to be talking about the true and the false self. This is episode 4 of this 45-day series called The Path to Inner Peace that I've been doing here on my YouTube channel. So, if you are here for that, you are in the right place. I'm excited about this series, especially because it's for those of us that are interested, that are focused, actually, not interested, focused on mastering the art of integration. And when I talk about integration, I'm talking about bringing together the parts of ourselves that we enjoy, that we love, and merging them with the lessons that we are learning as we grow from the parts of ourselves that we may not like, the parts of ourselves that we're actively choosing to change out of self love, not self hate. And this is a very powerful topic for us to discuss, especially if we are in that place, because when we are going through inner peace, when we are cultivating our inner peace, overflowing with mental calm, enjoying the present moment, it's important to master the art of integration, of integrating who we are being with who we desire to be, integrating who we are being with what we are learning, and integrating everything that serves us as we release what doesn't. So, let's get into how we want to talk about the true and the false self. Let's just get into it. I have my notes here, so if you see me turning to the side, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking at. When I look at my notes, it's a good time to grab your journal and your water bottle so you can get these gems, okay? So, the concept of the true and the false self. This concept, the way we have learned to explore it and to receive it, and I'm sharing from my experience here, I've learned it to be very leading into separation, where the false self looks like something bad, so we want to be less of the false self, and the true self looks like something good, so we want to be more of the true self. And this behavior, it usually leads to a pattern of self-rejection and a pattern of self-avoidance instead of inner peace and inner joy, which is what we actually desire to experience and embody. To align ourselves with inner peace, it's important to shift from looking at the true self as good and the false self as bad, and to integrate, to bring into harmony the true self and the false self so that they are supporting each other in your journey to inner peace. And when you move from this place, things are different. And what I mean by that is that these are the conditions where inner peace thrives. This is why this is a better way of doing it. Because when you are integrating and harmonizing your true self with your false self, your inner peace is going to thrive. The key is inner harmony instead of self rejection or self avoidance or separation, which is what most of us learn in our path when we are exploring this topic. Now, there are some reasons why this is something that we really want to take a look at. We want to take a look at it because for those of us that are thought leaders, for those of us that are the go to person in our household, this can become a bit of an issue for us when we are not integrating, when we are not harmonizing our true and our false self. It can actually cause some challenges for us that we can navigate with more ease when we know about them. Most people, they have really learned to avoid the false self. And they avoid it because they don't like what they see. And the way we show up to that avoidance is by rejecting the parts of ourselves that we don't like. So anytime you are in that energy, that's what it looks like to reject your false self. And I know this because that used to be me. And there are times when I'm going through the cycle of transformation, through the cycles of change, that is me. I show up with that energy. Even with the insight I have, even with the life I've lived, it is part of the process to at times show up with that energy. And here's the deal, you guys. Our inner peace determines our inner harmony. And our inner harmony determines our level of joy. So if you are desiring to feel a deeper level of joy in your life and allowing yourself to feel good about your life, it's going to be important that you bring yourself to a state of inner harmony where you can learn and appreciate the parts of you that you don't like, the parts of you desire to change, with the same intensity and appreciation and gratitude that you showcase to the parts of you that you do like, the parts of you that you love and you desire to amplify. Now, for those of us that are thought leaders, and that's the people that I like to talk to because y'all are my people. I'm just like you. I love learning like you. I love leading like you. I'm the first person to always raise her hand. I'm the person that's constantly looking for ways to express herself. It's what brings me joy. So I like to talk to those of us that wear that hat because I'm very familiar with what that experience is like and very intimate with that experience and is the type of clients that I've been working with really for the past 13 years. Those of us that are like that, those of us that are constantly being called for answers from people, we oftentimes lie to ourselves about our part in our situation because we want to avoid the discomfort of seeing our actions. I'm going to say that one more time. We often lie to ourselves about our part in situations because we do not want to feel the discomfort from facing our actions. And this happens to everyone, including us. And when we know that, we can show up to these moments a little more differently. Because when we're not aware of that, we tend to choose to sit in the energy of victimhood by focusing on perfectionism. When it is time to change, when it is time to take responsibility for ourselves, when it is time to focus on the things that we can't control. And that's why it's important to know that this is happening for us because when we find ourselves in that energy, it can be difficult to step out of it. It can be difficult to get unstuck, per se. And when you know in advance what's happening, you can be intentional around how you show up to it. Because when we are in that space of victimhood, y'all, when we're not allowing ourselves to be in the present moment with joy, with appreciation, there's something that happens that we don't realize. And I want you to know what that is because I know that when you know what it is, you're going to show up to it differently. When we are in a space when we are avoiding the parts that we don't like, when we are avoiding our part in situation, we are also avoiding the opportunity to learn the lessons that the false self is here to teach us. Because we are focused on how deeply frustrating it feels to not be our true self all the time. And when we're focused on how deeply frustrating that feels, can y'all hear that? I hope y'all can hear that. Let me pause for a second to make sure y'all can hear you. Okay, I think it's done. They're like mowing the lawn downstairs and it is crazy loud. So when we don't learn the lessons that the false self is here to teach us, because we're so deeply frustrated with facing the reality that we're not embodying our true self all the time, we enter this vicious cycle of self-loathing, of self-rejection, of self-resentment, instead of allowing ourselves to step into the energy of self-empowerment, of self-leadership, of self-knowing, of sovereignty. And the thing we don't realize is that the key to exit that cycle is integrating our true and our false self instead of avoiding it. And that's why I wanted to dive into today's video, because I want you to have this insight. I know when this insight came into my life, it changed everything. And every time I revisit this insight, I learn different things because I'm a different person. So here's what we're going to learn today. I got a few things for you. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the difference between the true self and the false self. I'm going to show you a different perspective to look at it. Number two, we're going to look at what integration looks like as a thought leader in the path to inner peace. When we talk about integrating the false self and the true self, what does that look like for you as someone that is a thought leader, as someone that is a high achiever, as someone that is leading others in this journey? Whether it be a personal journey, a company, a family, a business, what does that look like for you? Then I'm going to share 3 ways integrating your true self and your false self cultivates inner peace. Because I know most people think that they need to be separate and that one is better than the other. I want to reveal to you, I want to expand your mind around what does it look like to integrate them and how they can actually support you in cultivating your inner peace. And then I have a bonus for you for staying with me to the end. And on that bonus, I'm going to share with you the best way to integrate your true and your false self with calm. So once we break down the difference between them, once we look at what it looks like to integrate, once we look at the ways that it helps us cultivate our inner peace, I actually want to share with you my process for integrating. I want to share with you how I move myself through those experiences. Now, I know that there are some of you that watch this video, that know these videos, that know that I'm the mentor for you. So I'm going to talk to those of you right now. If that's not you, get yourself ready for us to break down these things. Now, if that is you, though, if you know that I'm the mentor for you, I want to make you an invitation because I know that you are ready for the next step, and I want you to be clear on what that step is. Below this video, there is a link to book a inner peace level up session. I'm playing with the name of this sessions a little bit, and inner peace is feeling good right now. So this inner peace level up session with me is for those of you that are serious about focusing on mastering the art of integration. Those of you that are serious about embodying the best version of yourself, no matter what, knowing that your life is unfolding for your highest good and the goodness of humanity. So if that's you, I want you to click on that link and apply for one of these sessions with me. We're going to sit down for about 40 minutes and look at where you are, what's impacting you from being at peace with yourself at the level you desire, and what we can do to get you there, to help you unlock that with calm, with peace, and with joy, because that's really important to me. So there's a link there. Click on it and we'll get right to it. Okay, so oh, yes. I want to tell you about the time I was wrestling with an attitude while I was pregnant, because it's going to help us highlight the importance of integrating the true and the false self. So I got pregnant in April 2021. And when I got pregnant, this was a very intentional pregnancy. This was not it just happened type of situation. We were very intentional about getting pregnant and having a baby. I actually invested about a year and a half prior to getting pregnant, doing quite a bit of healing, working with Reiki practitioner, working with an astrologer, getting clear on my natal chart. I even had uncomfortable conversations with my mom about what it was like to grow up in another country when she was in the United States. So your girl, I'm saying all that to say that your girl was in it. She was in it. She wanted to do this. She was all in. The thing about pregnancy, though, is that your body changes immediately. And for people like me that are really attuned to their bodies, like I meditate regularly, I'm constantly moving my body, I live a very active lifestyle, I pay attention to what I eat, I pay attention to my hydration. Like I'm that girl. I'm that type of girl. That type of woman. She's a woman, honey. Because I'm like that, I could feel a lot of the changes that were happening in my pregnancy very clearly, very quickly. I knew I was pregnant before I took a pregnancy test. I could feel my body kicking into gear. It's like something was dormant and now it isn't, and he knows what to do, and he just did it. And I could feel all of it. And what started to happen was my body required quite a bit of rest during this process that I had not planned for. Like, I knew I was gonna rest, I just had no idea what that was gonna look like. And I found myself in my first trimester being on my couch a lot. And this was extremely challenging for your girl because at the time before I got pregnant, I was working out twice a day. I was doing like 2 hour sessions of tennis in the morning, 2 hour sessions of tennis in the evening. I'm talking about like my shape was crazy. Your girl was lit. And now here I am pregnant, and my body's like, that's not the energy we on right now. That's not the energy we're focused on right now. And he took me by surprise, and he certainly took me to a place where I was extremely uncomfortable. And for 12 weeks, I was resting with an attitude. And in that energy, in that time, I was sitting in the energy of my false self because I was really upset that I had to rest. I was really upset that I had to lay down. You hear that? I had to lay down. I was really upset about how my pregnancy was unfolding because I anticipated that I was going to be continuing my workout life the way it was before. Now, those of you that have kids, those of you that have been pregnant, you're already looking at me like, girl, you know the vibes. She wasn't ready. She knows now. And in that moment, it really was difficult because I wasn't at peace with myself. And that impacted how I approached my pregnancy. That impacted how I approached the people around me during that season. And this is why it's important to integrate your true and your full self. Because once I realized what was going on and I began to notice the energy of my false self, and I started to learn from that energy, and I allowed the energy of my true self to come in and help guide me in the process, I actually started to enjoy my pregnancy. I started to love my pregnancy to the point now that if I choose to do that again, I will be a complete different type of pregnant person in how I would approach my pregnancy because I had that experience. So let's jump into these takeaways real quick. What is the difference between the true self and the false self? So the true self is the version of yourself that exudes unconditional love. The version of you that accepts yourself unconditionally and also accepts others. That doesn't mean that she stays and tolerates others. She accepts them for who she is, though. And that was the version of myself that was accepting that I was having an attitude, that was accepting that I was having a challenging time resting, that was accepting that I was having a challenging time adjusting. That was my true self. And then you have the false self. The way I understand this concept is the false self is the version of you that has learned to be accepted and loved with conditions by others. That's the version of myself that was having a difficult time because I was resting. Because she has learned that she is worthy when she's working out. She has learned that when she is resting, that something is wrong. She has learned that work is more important than rest. That in order to accept herself, she must be working. And that version of myself is the one that's having a very challenging time with the process. So let's talk about what that integration looked like, right? What integrating the true self and the false self looks like for us as thought leaders, and especially when we are in the path to inner peace. There are 3 things I want to share with you. First, when you're enjoying the journey of growth, right? When you are choosing that you're going to enjoy this journey, instead of being critical of your progress or not moving fast enough, that's the energy I was on. I was being critical of the fact that I was resting all that time, and I felt like I'm always resting, and I got a business to run, and I got a life to run, and I have these things I want to do, and now suddenly I can't do them because I have to rest. That's the energy I was on. And how long am I going to sit in this? How long is this going to last? Is every trimester going to be like that? Those were the questions going through my mind. So instead of sitting in that energy, you want to shift. You want to shift to allowing yourself to celebrate your growth and identify areas that shift the things that I will expand because it makes me happy. Identify areas to shift, to expand that will bring me joy. So that looked like accepting that I was pregnant and accepting that the body required that space and that it was okay to give it to it. You see that shift? And then I began to celebrating when I was joyful for resting. I began to celebrate and find moments of gratitude for being able to rest and not needing to have to work, for having a husband that could also step in. I began to see the gratitude in that energy. Number two, when you're expanding, because I was expanding in that time, I was expanding physically and I was also expanding emotionally. Instead of convincing yourself that no one wants to help you and that no one cares because it's fear of the unknown, there were times where I felt like JP don't care that I'm here on this couch resting with an attitude. He not helping me out. He not pregnant. I had those thoughts coming up for me. In those moments, it's important to shift to joyfully receiving support and reminding yourself that you're not alone by asking for help. This was one of the things that challenged me a lot during this process because asking for help is something that I am continuously healing from. My relationship with asking for help is very rooted in I have to do it by myself. So during this season, I was invited to receive more support and to notice that there were people happy to help me and to support me, and that they were supporting me in ways that I hadn't considered. My best friend was sending me care boxes with tea so that I can drink things that were, aligned with my holistic practices. I had other friends that were sending me like care packages with like a lot of care packages. My friends are amazing. They all sent me care packages. My close other friends, they were calling to check on me. My friends were calling to check on me. Like I was receiving an abundance of support. And the moments that I felt like I wasn't receiving support, it was because I wasn't asking for it. Shift to joyfully receiving support instead of thinking that people don't care. Now, there were three ways. Oh, the third one, when you're shedding. Because when I was pregnant, I was also shedding. I was shedding the old version of myself. I was shedding the version of myself that I thought I needed to be before. I was letting her go because she was no longer the person that I was going to be. I was going to be a parent now, a mother now, and I was learning what that was like. And that required me shedding this old version of myself that wasn't that. So when you are shedding, instead of attaching yourself to what feels familiar out of fear of the unknown, those moments when I was upset that I was resting instead of working out, it was me attaching myself to what was familiar, which is working because of the fear of how is this going to impact my body, and what if I can't get back on shape? What if I this and what if I that? All this, thoughts roaming in the mind that can impact how we look at things. And it's really grounded in the energy of rejection, to be honest. Rejecting the fact that we are worthy of rest, that we are worthy of joy, that we are worthy of calm, and it doesn't have to be done by working hard. So instead of sitting in that energy, I want to invite you to shift to letting go of what you cannot control and do this with compassion. And you do it by freeing yourself from the expectations that you have on yourself or the expectations that people have had on you. When we are shedding and we're letting go of things that no longer serve us, we're going to uncover quite a bit of expectations that are there. We're going to uncover quite a bit of things that we think we need to be doing, that we have learned that we quote unquote need to be doing to be loved, to be respected, to be appreciated, to be accepted. And in the shedding season, we let a lot of those things go. We let a lot of those things fall off, melt away. And it's important that you have the space for that. And that's what it looks like to integrate your true and your full self when you are a thought leader and you are in the path to inner peace. It looks like choosing to go from what feels familiar to what feels unfamiliar. It looks like choosing to step outside of your comfort zone into the discomfort of being authentic. It looks like allowing yourself to celebrate your wins with the same intensity that you have when you are addressing the things you want to change. Now, there are three ways integrating your true self cultivates your inner peace. I love talking about the ways that taking ourselves through this journey actually cultivates our inner peace because it opens you up to possibilities. I know these were the possibilities that honestly I would have loved to have when I started my journey. And I also know these are the same possibilities that I'm reminded of every day, even though I've been on this journey, excuse me, for 13 years, these are the very things that continue to come up for me. There are three things. The first is self-acceptance. When you're integrating the true self and the false self, you are accepting the parts of the false self that are not in alignment. You're learning from them and you are allowing yourself to be okay with their presence. And then your true self has an opportunity to show you the loving way of operating that, the loving way of bringing those two sides of yourself into alignment. And this is all about self acceptance. Because in order for you to be at peace with yourself, it's going to be required that you accept the parts of yourself that you don't like. And when you are in that process of integrating your true self with your false self, that is exactly what you're doing. You are accepting the parts of yourself that you don't like by learning from them and then growing from them and bringing it into the parts of you that you do love so that you can integrate, so that you can feel a greater sense of wholeness within yourself because you're not rejecting yourself, you are accepting yourself. The second way that integration of our true self and our false self cultivates our inner peace is self forgiveness. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for self forgiveness when it comes to inner peace. You are going to be constantly presented with invitations to forgive yourself because you're going to notice the ways in which you have moved out of alignment. You're going to notice that there were some ways that you moved out of alignment because of your conditioning, which you learned from people, from society, from your family, from your friends. And then there are going to be times when you're moving out of alignment because of your habits, the things that you have learned to do in other times of your life that helped you grow, that helped you get certain outcomes. And now you are engaging in those habits because it's familiar to you. That is a recipe for judgment. That is a recipe for resentment. That is a recipe for anger towards yourself. And here is why self forgiveness is one of the byproducts of integrating your true self with your past self. Because when you forgive yourself, you are able to look at yourself through that lens of unconditional love, which is what your true self brings to the table. And when you are looking at the parts of yourself that you are choosing to forgive, you're bringing in your false self and then you bring them together by learning from one and allowing it to support you in showing up in the way that you desire. It's a beautiful thing, and it works so nicely together, y'all, because when we are in the energy of self-acceptance and self-forgiveness towards ourselves, guess what happens? You get the third way in which integration cultivates inner peace, which is grace. Grace for others, grace for yourself. When you start to give yourself that inner peace, that self-acceptance, and you give yourself that self-forgiveness, man, it's easy to give it to other people. It's a lot easier to be gentle with other people when they are having a moment where they're stepping outside of the character that they desire to embody. It's a lot helpful and a lot more joyful to look at people where they are and to be okay with it, which is what grace is all about because we're giving it to ourselves. And it changes everything. It changes everything. I'm going to give you the bonus in 1 second. Before I give you that bonus, I want to know what's coming up for you in the comments below. What are you receiving? What has been a takeaway of yours so far? Let me know in the chats. And let me know if you want this bonus because I'm going to give you a bonus in a second. So I want to know if you want parts. So while y'all drop that in the chat, I want to talk to those of you that are ready for the next step because let's talk about it. You want to take the next step. I know you do. You are about this life. You are committed to showing up authentically, unapologetically, no matter who's in the room. And there are things that are going to support you in that process to operate it and to do it with ease and with calm and with flow, particularly as you master the art of integration. So my question for you is simple. Would you like my one-on-one support in mastering the art of integration? Would you like my one-on-one support in your journey to inner peace? Now, if you answer yes to that question, you are in the right place, baby, because she is currently enrolling clients for our best-selling program, the Self-Trust Society. Now, what is the Self-Trust Society? I get really giddy when I think about the Self-Trust Society because it has had such a beautiful journey. This is a place, this is an offering to those of you that are committed to prioritizing and leading with your inner peace. and your inner joy. It's for those of you who desire to create a system to collapse the time that it takes you to act on your intuition and to do it full of kindness, full of compassion. Because you and I both know that Steve Jobs was right. When we let our intuition guide us, he already knows where we want to go. So in this place, we're going to spend 12 months together, and it's going to be an authenticity container. A container where you're going to become a more joyful version of yourself. And you're going to unlock the next level of your growth. You're going to unlock the next level of your growth, enjoying the journey as much as the destination, overflowing with inner peace. I've opened up 5 spots on my calendar for this inner peace level of sessions, like I'm calling them. And they are for those of you that are serious. If you're serious, you know you want to take the next step, that's for you. So to apply for the one, you want to click on the link in the description below, and let's co-create some magic together, because it's going to be a whole vibe. This 40-minute conversation is going to change your life, and it's going to change your life whether you choose to work with me or not, because you're not looking at you the way I look at you. And there are some things I see that can support you in your journey, and I desire for you to know what they are. Y'all ready for this bonus? Let me get some water. Drop a sunflower if you want me to share with you the best way to integrate your true and your false self with ease. Okay. So the best way to integrate your true and your false self, and to do this with ease, because the important is ease. When it is ease, there's a lot more joy, and consistency becomes more achievable. 2 things. First, be open. Be open to seeing yourself become a new version of yourself. It's really important that you're open, because you're going to see that a lot of the things you believe are going to come up to the surface. And sometimes those are the very same things that act as walls to keep us from stepping into the discomfort of growth. So be open to who you are being. Be open to seeing yourself from a different angle. Be open to becoming a different version of yourself. Be open to allowing yourself to have a different relationship with your true and your false self, one that's rooted in love, in appreciation, in learning, not self-rejection. This is going to be a good one. Number 2, be patient. Yo, the way we've been used, patience has been a big word in my house. Be patient. Be patient with yourself as you anchor what you enjoy while learning from what you don't. I'm going to say it again. Be patient with yourself as you anchor what you enjoy while learning from what you don't. That's the beautiful thing about integration, is that you are allowing yourself to be patient in the process. When I was pregnant and I was integrating my true self and my false self, patience was extremely important. And when you're becoming a parent, patience is a very powerful skill to cultivate anyway. And it's important that you cultivate the skill of patience, because it's going to be required in your journey into inner peace. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your process. Be patient with your progress. And be patient with whatever it looks like along the way. That is going to be the key to integrating your true self and your false self with ease. Being open and being patient. Now, let me tell you about the next video. So in the next video, I'm going to cover the one subject you really need to study. And if you're here, you already know what it is. Childhood, your own childhood. And I'm going to share with you what you can do to navigate that journey with ease. The journey of discovering your childhood, rediscovering your childhood, the journey of revisiting that. I'm going to get into all of that. So you want to make sure you check out the next video. Listen, mis amores, this was a blast today. We had an amazing time. Thank you for coming. For those of you that are submitting your application, I am so excited to see you on the other side and talk to you because I know you about this life. I know you're going to bring the energy, and I know we're going to go create some magic. I look forward to seeing you. My name is Janori Pouncil. I am the guiding light to thought leaders, conscious high achievers that are being the best version of themselves, trusting their intuition, cultivating their inner peace, and enjoying their lives every step of the way. And I'm here to make sure that you see things clearly. I'll talk to you soon. And remember, you are a vibe. Hasta luego.